Have you ever wondered what the meaning of life is? How do I find meaning in all this suffering? Being kicked in the balls isn't for you. You know, some people like it, but I don't. I don't want to be kicked in the balls all the time. This is not fun. This experience, I fucking hate it. Well, don't worry, because I'm here for you. And I'm gonna take you along on my research on this age-old question that like how to approach life. I think is one of the most important questions every single human being should ask themselves, and eventually one of the biggest questions. So get yourself something nice to eat, or open up a game on the second monitor, or if you don't have a TikTok fried brain, just watch the video maybe. Okay, let's get right to it. So before we ask ourselves how to find the meaning of life, we first have to ask these two questions. Why even bother? And what even is a meaning? Just so we know what we're talking about exactly. First of all, why even bother? Why should I care? Like, what's up with that? You know, is it a stupid question? Shouldn't I just go live my life? Well, I would argue that first of all, if you're saying, what's the meaning of the universe? Then that could seem kind of stupid, because at the end of the day, you're never going to get a definitive answer, right? Like science might get you pretty close, but you know, that's to say, what if history isn't real? What if the Big Bang isn't real? I mean, it's still called the Big Bang theory, right? It's not like we really know. What we're looking at is what is the meaning of your life? You know, your life specifically. How do you approach your life? How to find meaning in your life specifically? So since we're looking at just this one tiny spectrum of the whole existence of the whole universe, then it is way easier to answer that. And we have way more to go off of, right? And therefore, if you look for this question with me, if you go in this research and you realize that it does affect everything. Perspective is everything. Honestly, in life, perspective is kind of all you have. Your own ability to think and interpret ways in your own way. So therefore, it does affect everything. There can be two people, just like the example with getting kicked in the balls. You know, that there's one guy that enjoys it. There's one guy that doesn't enjoy it quite as much, you know. I happen to be the first one. So let's get into the next slide. So, what even is a meaning? It's just so we know what we're talking about. So I've looked up some definitions on the internet in some various dictionaries. These are the best definitions I've found, so I put them here. You can read it all if you want to, that's up to you. But I think what is the most important thing here is, there's two things. I'm going to show you. Importance or value. The birth of her first grandchild gave her new meaning to her life. So you see that if something has meaning, that it is therefore important, right? And then if an activity or action has meaning, it has purpose and is worthwhile. Therefore, it is essential to look for the meaning in your life, because it therefore becomes worthwhile. Now, you might be already thinking, well, this is pretty debatable. Because first of all, it doesn't necessarily have to mean that something that has a meaning has to have value, right? There are beautiful things made without a specific meaning, like paintings. You know, for example, David Bowie, he said in this one interview, I saw him say, he knows a lot of painters that are truly amazing at what they do, but they usually title their paintings after they finish them. But that doesn't put away the meaning, you know. Like every single millisecond is meaningful because you spend it. You spend it some way. There's always a meaning to every single thing you do, even if it seems there isn't, right? Even if it's just jerking off, if you just jerk off in your room and just, you know, one person would look at that and say it's meaningless. Well, there is no single thing in this universe that is without a meaning, because when you really look at it, the stuff happening in your brain that is doing something, and therefore if it's doing something, that it has to be meaningful. But that's not to say that that is a good thing to do. You shouldn't be in your room on the orange and black website, right? Like, don't fucking do that. That's so lame. It's one of the things I'm going to preach a lot on this channel. And another thing is, if an activity or action has meaning, it has purpose, and is worthwhile, just that is the whole point why we're asking this, right? That doesn't mean the meaning has to be the same for every single person. And we're going to have a look at that. Don't worry. So basically what we have is there could be an objective explanation what something is, and yeah, objective is kind of decisive because what something is. Well, let's say the color blue. You ask Google what is the color blue, and it shows you the color blue. But if you go really into detail, you realize it's just little atoms that are not even blue. So it's just your subjective interpretation of you seeing the color blue, and that can be kind of with every single thing. So it's kind of hard to have an objective explanation, but let's try and make it in the objective as we understand it in the physical realm that our eyes and brain make us see, right? So objective, it's really hard to say something is objective because at the end of the day, it almost seems like nothing is truly an objective thing. Oh, maybe some things. I'm not sure. I haven't really thought that out that much. It's not that important for this presentation, right? But the second one is the meaning can have a subjective interpretation. That's the importance of value, right? So let's look at some examples. And first, I have this beautiful movie, Titanic. I haven't seen it, so it's quite ironic. We're going to look at it from the objective explanation, what it truly is, subjective interpretation, how people can look at it. And since it's a form of art, it's a great thing to use as an example. So the objective explanation, if you were to be very bland, if someone, you would say in a conversation, oh, Robert, what do you think about Titanic? And he would be like, what's the fucking Titanic? So you'd say, well, it's a 194-minute movie, it's a romantic movie, it's based on a true story, and it's quite popular, that is pretty objective, right? You could argue on some points, maybe, it's pretty objective, right? But then you have the subjective interpretation. And then you would say, well, Robert, I felt so much love when watching it. It was quite a journey. It was quite exciting. There was a lot of tension. And then Robert, he's this cynic. He's this nihilistic guy. And he goes and watches it. And he's like, fucking David, that shit was so boring. It was stupid. It was too long. It was corny as hell, man. So you can see that it's quite interesting. It's the same thing. And two people, they see it quite differently. Well, I've done a little research. I don't know if you're familiar with the website Letterboxd. It's a website where people can write reviews for movies. I'd love for you to add me if you have an account there, and I would love to look at your account and get some movie recommendations. I'm pretty sure you guys will have some amazing lists. I'm getting into the movies lately. I haven't seen a lot of the big ones. I haven't even seen Titanic yet. So I went there and I realized that, okay, well, maybe I can see what the people that hate Titanic, what do they have to say about it? Since, they will share it with the world. So let's take a look. So here we have it. This one guy in French, he said, I couldn't make it through 30 minutes. I'm not really sure what it exactly means, but I used the translator. Translate this. There's this other guy, I crossed it out. In case you haven't seen Titanic or you don't know what the ending is, which is one of the most popular endings. That's why I used it, because you will know what I'm talking about. People say the ending is stupid, and this guy is saying as well, right? Then we have this person with a K-pop profile picture or whatever that is, and this guy is fucking Lego Batman. So this person is saying, if I could, I would give this movie -5 stars. It was so boring. I literally fell asleep, man. I don't understand how you can try to this boring movie. Yeah, so whatever. And then another guy, doesn't like the ending. There's just a guy saying, fuck you. So, more people, I don't get the hype. The most overrated trash movie I've ever seen. Why do people like this so much? It fucking sucks. It almost sounds like people talking about life. Why do people like life so much? It fucking sucks. Terrible. I hate this movie. Bye. It was okay. I quite respect Amber for saying it was okay and still giving it the lowest rating. Why not give it like 3 stars? But whatever. So, how is this possible? You could say, oh, what do you mean? How is this possible? This is just their preference, right? Well, I would argue, if you really look at their claims, there seems to be a pattern. When you go back, you can go back in the video, but just remember what they said. Those people, they had very high expectations of the movie. How could people cry watching this? Then that gave them prejudice. They went in with expectations, and also maybe they're not used to these movies because of their personal preference, right? Obviously, there could be a person very knowledgeable in movies or whatever that could somehow argue his way into saying the Titanic is genuinely like that bad that you would give it that rating, even though that doesn't seem very reasonable. But it makes sense, Or when I think of this personal preference thing, I'm thinking of an example. Not so long ago, I was on LSD with my friend. I'm not sure if I can say this on YouTube. Like, I'm not sure how friendly that is. So it was in Roblox. It's a hypothetical scenario, right? And we were watching the movie We're the Millers. Well, in my language, since I'm not a native speaking English person, I'm from the Czech Republic, right? The title of the movie was Millers on a Trip. So I guess we thought it would be funny to watch it on a little trip while we were tripping. And the movie, like, I remember watching it like 3 years ago. It's quite interesting. It was quite interesting that my personal preference changed so much, because I remember laughing at the movie and thinking it was good. Now I watched it, and and even being on the LSD, you're more immersed in it, and I saw it. I was like, this sucks ass. What the fuck is that? I was like, what the fuck? It was so bad. It was honestly terrible. Like, it was such a terrible experience. The scenes, they were so unrealistic. The characters, they were so shallow and stupid. It was like if an alien went and invaded Earth and watched humans, like, just their fantasies, what they want to be like, and made a fucking movie of that. It was like so unrealistic. It was like all so shallow and stupid. It was like fucking toddlers made it. The movie is so bad, honestly. It's not just personal preference. Like, okay, but why? Well, because of the acting is bad, because the scenery was unrealistic. There's specifically a scene where there's an ex-police officer that worked at the DEA, and there are people pretending that a bag of marijuana is their baby. How would he not smell the fucking weed? Like, he would smell that. He's worked at the DEA. It's fucking Hank Schrader. He's making the Schrader beer. Bro, like, he can smell that. And I can argue, right? So, personal preference, yeah, fair. But have a fucking rational personal preference. Like, I think my personal preference here is rational because I can argue for it. So that's really important. Those people, you could say it was their personal preference, but was it really? They didn't even give it a chance. Like, their arguments for why Titanic is bad, it's so lazy. It's so lazy. And the last one is impulsive irrationality. You can see that since they were mad at the ending, they were like little toddlers crying, the ending is stupid. Bro, fucking grow up, okay? The ending is not the movie. It's literally a 194-minute movie. It's like the people, you have bad things happen to you, but if you have the aged wisdom, you will realize that, well, I cannot do anything about it, and maybe, my whole day hasn't been ruined by these bad 10 seconds. Maybe since I dropped an egg on the floor, I don't have to be crying here like a little toddler. There's a Czech saying that, it's actually an international saying, I think, and there's no reason to cry over spilled milk. And that is one of my favorite quotes ever. I love it with all my heart. So get rid of these characteristics, right? You have to see the bigger picture. Why should I care? You might be thinking that. Well, yeah, okay, some guys didn't like the Titanic. What the fuck? It's not like I'm like that, that's your human ego, talking to you like, well, I'm not like that. I'm a flawless human being. I'm this wise tree, right? Well, listen, this affects our view on life. It's the same things, and you think about it, like, there's so many people showing these characteristics, and when they go in life with high expectations, the prejudice, this personal preference that's not even personal, that's been given to them by all the people around them, saying that fucking black people are bad. Why? Have you ever thought about anything ever? Like, do you ever think about anything ever? Like, really? Honestly, don't be stupid. This impulsive irrationality, I hate it when people just completely complain and then complain and then complain and then complain, and it makes me want to fall asleep. It's like, why do you care so much? Okay, you what? Like, I've always struggled with this in work environment, to be quite frank with you, because everyone's this like stress and tension, and I never felt it, you know. Like, I feel it now because I'm passionate for this, I guess. But I doubt these people are passionate. They're just scared little babies. I don't know. Well, how you should approach life is quite the opposite of that. Have no expectations instead of high expectations, even though it's quite impossible, right? All of these goals, they are quite impossible to fully reach, but that is good. That is perfect. That is perfect. That's the way it should be. Because if you think about it, we as humans, unfortunately, that's the fucking nature we have. I don't know why, like who invented that, but we like to be like pigs with a carrot on a stick in front of us, running on a treadmill, 24/7, chasing. And it's so close that you almost get the bite of the carrot. And everyone's like, "Yeah, you can do it." You know, the envious pigs are like, "No, stop chasing, stop, be like us, give up." But you never know. You never know. But it's so close that you might catch it and you can do it. I'm pretty sure you can. But if it's so easy that you just go and catch it easily, you know, it's like, okay, that's not really fun. It's like jerking off. That's why jerking off is so fucking lame. Because you get the reward instantly. No one's going to say no to you. At least if you like had do some kind of fucking training before jerking off, you know, maybe raise up the girls that you're going to jerk off to. Yeah, I mean, that's more rewarding. At least having sex is some kind of reward, even though it's not also that good to sleep with everyone, right? Like, yeah. But here's the thing. It's perfect to have goals that are kind of unreachable. So zero expectations. Open-mindedness is such a big thing. Go into things with an open mind. Personal preference? Yeah, okay, if you can argue it. But don't have this stupid, like, I just don't like it. Well, why? At least be able to answer the why. That's the least you can do. And wise rationality. Just take a step back. Things didn't work out the way they were supposed to. Well, no, the things didn't work out the way you wanted them to work out. It's actually happened to me 2 days ago. Yeah, like I got some fucking terrible news. Well, not really terrible, to be honest. I have this work going on, you know, and yeah, I guess they didn't like me that much. Well, they do like me. That's not to throw shame on the people. I'm so grateful for the opportunity, but they were just like, you're not really fit for it. I was like, fuck, man. And of course, if I were to go and act based off of my immature, impulsive irrationality, I would fucking tell them to fuck off, right? But I didn't do that. I took a step back from the situations. I took a breath, and I realized, okay, it's all right, Baron. Things in the past haven't worked out the way where you wanted them to, but now I look back on it and I see that it couldn't have been better. It brought me on such a path that I'm here now and things are getting better and better and better. So there's no such things as failures, right? That's why you have to have this kind of wise rationality. You know, myself back then, when, for example, my fucking girlfriend broke up with me, you know, I was like, no, this is the end of my world, whatever. And now I have this wise rationality that I see that, okay, you know, it was actually the best thing that could have happened. So just be able to take a step back and think with an open mind. It's really important. Now, let's get into the meaning of life. Well, it's, you know, the movies, okay. Well, if we look at it from this perspective, just like we looked at Titanic, objective explanation, what something is, subjective interpretation, right? So if we look at life itself, well, 80-year-old long journey, conscious experience, starts with being born, ends with death. And yeah, you could argue that, well, does it end with death? What is death? Does it start with being born? Is it conscious? Yeah, I'd love to argue about that with you, but can you just please shut the fuck up for now? Let's just please, just for the sake of the presentation, let me get my point across, man. So, subjective interpretation. You could say life's an adventure. There's a bunch of friendship. You will get a lot of challenges. It will challenge you. You will have to be tough. And then you will be passionate about stuff. You will feel love. Love, the emotion that can either destroy a man, turn him into an evil man, or it can completely turn his life around into like being the fucking priest of Well, I don't know if being a priest is like being a priest is more evil actually. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Like, I'm pretty sure some priests are cool guys. Actually, maybe most priests. But then a cynic is like, no, it's all meaningless. Life is so unfair. It's repetitive, boring. It's full of stress. It's so stressful. Here's the thing. Who's right? Well, my ego tells me that I am, but that's my fucking ego. Let's get rid of that. Everyone is right. Life is unfair. Life is an adventure. Life is meaningless. Life fucking sucks. Life sucks ass. It sucks tits. It sucks balls even. It's quite stressful. Yeah, but do you just want to look at it that way? Do you just want to be a fucking loser all your life? Because the things you feed your mind, it is like food. If you keep eating chocolate, you will be fat. If you keep eating shit food, you will have shit health. And whatever you feed your mind, well, then you will see that. Because as we said in the beginning of the presentation, perception is everything. So please try to think about it when the next time you have these thoughts, right? So how you should approach life, when we go back to it, you should have the same mindset as approaching the fucking movie. So 0 expectations, open-mindedness, personal preference. Yeah, okay, but to a rational point and vice rationality. Think about stuff. That's the biggest gift you have. Well, here's the thing. You know nothing, so do I. Oh, what did this guy mean by this? Well, let me show you an example. There are these 4 albums. Do you know any of these? I hope you do. If not, please listen to them. Jesus. They're quite good. I even have this one fucking tattooed, even though, well, I don't like it that much anymore. What's quite interesting, the reason I specifically chose these 4, you wouldn't guess it, but I hate it. Not that I dislike them, I fucking hate it. I thought they sucked ass when I first listened to that. Because I was at a point where I didn't have that open-mindedness. Well, actually, with these 2 later I did. But with these 2, I had those high expectations, right? I was like, because everyone's praising this, so there was no way I could have 0 expectations, right? It's quite impossible. I thought it was going to be fucking magical, and it wasn't the first time I listened to it. But then it somehow grew on me, and now I love them, I love all these albums. Like, how is it even possible? With Blood on the Tracks, I was a wiser man. So then I realized, okay, people say it's good. I listen to it. I'm not quite feeling it, but I had that wisdom, and then I gave it another chance. I was like, I must not be hearing something. And then, if you genuinely give something a chance, there have been albums that I have given many chances, and it's just not for me. So that is the personal preference I'm talking about. If it's that type of personal preference where you genuinely give something a chance, and you know it in your full heart's content, that you didn't go into it with prejudice, and you gave it a chance many times, that is all right. And it's not even about the music, right? It's like this could be hobbies, right? This could be hockey, football, this could be that one girl, that other girl, this could be maths, this could be science, this could be literature, this could be writing, this could be running, anything. So look at it that way. These are just examples from my life to put on a story, because people like stories. I like in a fucking circus. So open-mindedness opens up a whole new world. Since I went into it with an open mind, right now I have more. I wouldn't have known of such beautiful music, right? Music is so precious to me. And it's once again, it's not about the music, it's about the open-mindedness. So if you don't try new hobbies and stuff, you will not even know how beautiful it can be. There's so much I have found out in my recent months of my life, and it's like I'm so blessed to be alive, honestly. Expectations, they ruin the experience. So should I just experience? It's quite an interesting thought. I want you to think about that. I will not give you an answer, but think about that. What if you would just experience and don't really expect anything? Just experience and enjoy the now. Because that's all you have. That's all you have. It's gone now. Oh, it's gone. You were thinking about something, weren't you? Well, it's fucking gone. Yeah, it's gone. This slide, gone. So enjoy it. Enjoy the now. The magic is in not knowing. I personally think that, so Actually, I did give you my opinion. Sorry. Imagine if you would know. There's this one Rick and Morty episode where like he has this shard in his head and he knows what's going to happen, and it just sucks ass. You know, it doesn't go well for Morty. So maybe the magic is in not knowing. That's just another point of saying have no expectations. But yeah, this is just. Would it be fun if you knew? I'd have to say, I don't think so, man. So, let's go back to what even is a meaning, right? So we have the objective explanation, subjective interpretation, right? I think that art changes everything. Well, it's just an example. It's just like your perception changes everything. What if there is no objective explanation? Well, you would say that everything has a meaning, but that's not necessarily true because not everything was made with a meaning. Like I said earlier, David Bowie, painters, they just do whatever and then they title it. They didn't really go and think about it and gave it a meaning. It's just the meaning arrived. It grew, like a baby, like a man. You grow up to be a man. You grow up to be a woman, a person, or whatever. It's not like you're born to be whoever you're going to be in 30 years. So then, therefore, you could say that to experience is the meaning, and therefore meaning is in the ability to give meaning. Any single word we use has just been established by hundreds of years, by whomever, by society, and we've just agreed on it. It's up on your interpretation and your free will to say that, hey, this has this meaning, this has that. You can find meaning in anything, right? Unfortunately, there are people that find meaning in fucking raping people, right? Like, yeah, that's meaningful to them. And even though they're being drawn by their desires, it has meaning. There are some people that find meaning in, I don't know, scratching toddlers on the nutsacks. I don't know why I'm using such wild examples, but there are people that find meaning in art. That doesn't sound that fun, We all know there's people like that. The whole point is that meaning is in the ability to give meaning. That is very, very important. You have the freedom to see for yourself. It's like that test with the black paintings. I'm not sure what it's called, but you can see whatever you want to see. And then people tell you that you're a psychopath if you see a person in there or whatever. How the world looks at the meaning of life. So, this is the most interesting and most fun part of this presentation. Please finish that food, finish that video game, and pay full attention, class. This is very, very important and very amazing. I love this. If we look at research, then the most popular answer, and you can read the other ones, pause the video, and it's free for you to read. The most important and the most popular answer is family and children. Therefore, we can say that you most likely are the meaning of life. Because if other people say that their children are the meaning of their lives, then doesn't that make you the meaning of life? It's quite an interesting thought if you think about it. So your ability, it genuinely says that you are the one giving life meaning, since the answers, they differ. So there's obviously, there's no 100% answer, and since you're the one choosing the answer, therefore you are the meaning of life. Now, major philosophies. Oh my god. This is gonna be so fucking hard. Your nipples are gonna be erected. You're gonna love this, man. I lied before. This is the best part of the presentation. Let's have a look at how major philosophies look at the meaning of life. First up, with religion, and we're taking a major view, just not some fucking spaghetti flying monster religion, just Christianity, for example, or just like whatever most popular religions agree on. The meaning of life, 2. Serve, worship, and love God. Life is this kind of a test, which ties to you're good, afterlife will reward you, you go to heaven. You're bad, you go to fucking hell. So live according to your religion. Everything happens for a reason. There's this God's plan. Okay, you'll see where I'm heading with this. Just stay and spiritual interpretation. So Buddhism, Hinduism, they say that life is actually a cycle of suffering and rebirth. Suffering is desire, attachment, and ignorance. Therefore, life is a cycle of desire, attachment, and ignorance, right? And it's a cycle of being reborn again and again and again and again. Karma influences what happens in your next life. So you're a good person, you're noble in your next life. You're a shitty person, you're a fucking buck or whatever, right? So you have to let go of your ego and cravings. That is their ultimate goal, and therefore you reach nirvana. What is nirvana? When you reach nirvana, you actually grab a shotgun. I'm just kidding. So nirvana actually is breaking these cycles. So you completely let go of the ego. I'm not sure of the specifics, right? Please don't grab my nipples for this. But it's kind of, the whole point of it is just like letting go of the ego and the cravings, and then you reach nirvana and you become rid of the cycle of rebirth and you blend into nothing. It's quite an interesting concept, honestly. It's quite brave to do that. Then the moral perspective, so basically Stoics and whatnot. So the meaning of life is to become a morally good person. Wisdom is essential for a fulfilling life. Let reason, nature, or harmony guide you, and fulfillment comes through personal and collective growth. So be wise and grow. We can sum it up like that. Then we have hedonism. If you're not familiar with it, let me show you. What basically hedonism is about is that true happiness is found in lasting pleasure. Avoid pain, especially in the long run. Life is short, so you should enjoy it wisely. And meaning is found in peace of mind. What basically hedonism is, it's not that much of the responsibility part of like working for the bigger meaning, letting go of your ego. It's just more about having fun. Just like making sure that you're always having fun. It sounds silly and immature, but it's quite a good concept, honestly. I think all of these concepts are good and they have some true in them. Even the next one, denial of meaning. Oh no, the elephant in the room. There's no meaning. Well, let us look at it, how they see life. Life ain't got no meaning. All values and morals are just human constructs. Life is actually full of suffering and desire. And the will to live is stupid. Liberation comes from rejecting illusions and desires. And whether or not I agree with this, it has some truth in it. And I will give my opinion on denial of meaning later. And lastly, we have the existential view. So existentialism. So what do they say? That there is no pre-given purpose. So it's kind of the same, like nihilism, but they say that you must create your own meaning. So you're the driver of this boat. And even in an absurd world, you can choose to live with purpose. Freedom, although scary, is quite real. So whether or not you believe in free will, well, they do, and they say freedom is your thing. So it's not this God's plan or whatever. It's quite interesting. So what I've done is overlaps. Let me explain. The reason I used 5 circles is because I didn't know how to do it with 6. But just imagine that the denial of meaning is there as well. So what we're looking at is that if you look at those philosophies, they kind of overlap in some points, in some not, right? But what we're trying to look at is this ultimate dot in the middle. And we're trying to see if we can get the ultimate life philosophy out of this. So we're essentially going to look at what they would theoretically all agree on, and therefore we're really going to find what is the meaning of life and how to approach and how to find the meaning in life, which the result is beautiful. I love it. I think I'm going to write a book about it. I really want to write a book. And when I came to the result, I cried tears of happiness making this. There went a lot of thought. It wasn't just me fucking writing words. I was like thinking about this, sitting and thinking for like 10 minutes in some sites. It was quite interesting. I recommend doing it as well, like thinking about it. It's quite fun. So I put it like this. So we have all the things: religion, spiritual liberation, moral perspective, hedonism, denial of meaning, existentialism. Let's remove exclusive ideas for major philosophies, so don't hate me. I know there are some religions that might agree with what I'm going to cross out from, for example, life has no meaning. I'm pretty sure there's some religion that agrees with that, but we're just looking at the major religion, and that's not agreeing with that. Some of these were kind of hard to distinguish. For example, that karma influences your next life and life is kind of a test. It does seem like the same thing, but when you really look at the details of it, it's quite not the same, because karma is influencing the rebirth cycle, and you have many more options, and it's not really the end goal. The rebirth is just, you're kind of stuck in rebirth, whilst the test is life, and then afterlife is kind of the end goal. So it's quite different. So I really tried hard to cross out what I thought would be exclusive for those. It's quite interesting to see that the moral perspective went undamaged. So what we have left here is this. Well, let's do something else. Let's look at examples that we can morph together. So I took what we had left. So for example, now we have everything happens for a reason from religion. So believing that there's this bigger meaning. Let reason, nature, or harmony guide you, and that freedom is scary but real from existentialism. Let's look at this and see what they all agree on. There's a reason why I chose these three, right? Because they all agree on one thing, that there is a certain rule to something. Even though existentialism is saying freedom is scary but real, so they're basically saying you have free will. Religion, although it is saying that you don't necessarily have free will, that it's God's plan, you kind of have free will in the will of God's plan, right? Like, you essentially are doing the things you're doing, but there's like restrictions. You imagine like there's a field, and there's an electric field for horses, and they're running around in the grass, so they are kind of free, but they're restricted by borders, just like we're restricted by the laws of our universe, or the borders of our planet, or whatever situation you're living in. But what they all agree on is, well, we lack full control over our life. I emphasized full because even if you think that you have free will and you have control over your life, you will never have full control over your life. You need to realize that. You must realize that it will never be 100% full. Some things, they will just happen, and you cannot do anything about it. Your mother, and I'm quite sorry to say that to you, will fucking die. Like, it doesn't matter when, it will happen. You will die. Your dog will die. It does happen. And, we don't know what death really is, or what happens after that, for that matter, but some things, they will just happen. So, another statement that we can agree on is suffering equals desire, attachment, and ignorance. It actually has quite an overlap with the denial of meaning, saying that life is suffering and desire. And then letting go of ego and cravings is the ultimate goal, has quite an overlap with liberation comes from rejecting illusions and desires. So you see that desire is seen as this bad thing. So what we can then say is that to not suffer, you must not desire. And it's quite logical. It does make sense. I will explain it in further detail later on. Next up, we have the moral perspective with become a morally good person. Fulfillment comes through personal and collective growth. And although I didn't find another overlap in a specific definition that was left there, the other religions or philosophies, they do agree with this. So from this, we can then say that you should aspire to grow. Growth, it does happen in life if you want it to. Then, another overlap is wisdom is essential for a fulfilling life, and then we have life is short, enjoy it wisely. So we have the wisdom. Well, therefore, we could say that you should act through wisdom. Act to your best knowledge. Wisdom, you will get more wisdom if you aspire to grow. So you can kind of start to see that these are all connected, and we will connect them with the last one, which is connecting. Meaning is found in peace of mind. All values and morals are just human constructs. You must create your own meaning. Therefore, we can say, and this is so important, no matter if you read the Bible and the Bible tells you specifically what to do, you still have your subjective interpretations. Other people subjectively interpret it, and some people interpret it so they can fucking have their way with children, unfortunately, and they say some stupid shit from the Bible, to explain it. So therefore, think for yourself. Like, you can always interpret the ways your way, but it cannot be just this. Like, any singular of these solutions, let's see what we have, right? Let's see them together. Any singular of these that doesn't make sense alone. You have to connect them. And once you connect them, it is such a bulletproof way to approach life. And I'm going to give you an example. I have a friend, well, I wouldn't say friend necessarily. It's just this one woman, right? And I'm quite sorry for her because she's studying law. Right, and you can just tell she's the type of person, you know, when you ask someone to explain something and the person just tells you some complicated terms that you don't understand, and you say, well, can you please explain what that even fucking means? And they explain it in more complicated terms, and you realize, oh, this person doesn't even know what the fuck they're talking about. So then I ask her, hey, is it fun? She like, yeah, like, and she's like saying some dumb shit, and I'm like, no, really. Do you enjoy it? And she's like, no. Okay, so let's take a look at this example for a minute. Let's say I don't know, the girl was really in love with music and she was a fucking guitar player, for example, right? But she's here in this situation studying law. She's been there for what, like 2 years, and she's got 1 more year ahead of her. What's she gonna do? Well, first of all, the first step is that you have to realize that you lack full control over your life. It has already happened. You are already here, and sometimes you will get into situations and you cannot do anything about it. There may be a person that you like, but they will not like you back. And this is not about that girl, but it's quite interesting. I'm saying this as an example. That's so fucking gay. It's just an example, okay, people? The next step is to not suffer is to not desire. And you might be thinking, well, how should I aspire to grow then if I should not desire? Well, no. It's not the same. It's not the same. You realize that you lack full control over your life. You cannot change the things. You are not a god. So therefore, you do not desire. If you think of the times you have been suffering, why have you been suffering? Because you wanted things to be different. You wanted that get rich quick scheme. You wanted with the snap of a finger like this to be a fucking Bitcoin millionaire and have no stress. But what you really wish for is no stress. And what you really wish for is for it to be different. And therefore, you should not desire. If you do not desire for things to be different now, you will not suffer because you will be okay with where you are right now. So just be okay with where you are now. Realize you don't have full control over it. The next step is think for yourself. So let's say I'm here studying the law school. I realize, I cannot change it. I shouldn't even want it to be different right now. So I think for myself and I think, well, maybe if I finish up the school, then maybe I can be making some money, and on the side I can aspire to grow. Remember, I said I'm this musician playing on the guitar. We all have these things that they seem kind of childish, but then when you look at the world, like everything ever in the existence has been done and you can do it. Nothing is impossible. So then you realize, oh, it's actually not childish to like write poetry, to paint paintings. That is a genuine career, and maybe it doesn't even have to be a career. You think to yourself and you realize, oh, actually I want a career in law and I just want to do this and aspire to grow in this. That's up on you, right? That's your own thing. So therefore, you do the last step and you act through wisdom. So you either decide, hey, fuck this school, I'm going to go pursue another career. So whatever, you think about it. Just put a lot of thought into it. Right? There's so many things you can do right now. You can turn off this video. Like if this seems wise to you to turn off this video, please do so and go live and do that thing you find fun. You don't even ever have to finish this video. I will not be mad at you and you will love yourself for it. Go and do that thing you want to grow in. Please watch the rest of the video. I was just kidding. So you act through wisdom. That's the last thing you have left. You always should act through wisdom and really think about it. I stand by the fact that the problems of 99% of people would be resolved if they just went through this process, really thought about something, and then acted through wisdom and acted. That's all you should do. You have to be like that pig chasing that carrot, because it does seem impossible, but so does everything. And what? Will you just be looking at other people do it? Will you just be sitting passively? No, it's your time on the treadmill, bro. It's your time. And unless you train, you're never going to catch that carrot. And you know what? You're going to starve to death. Your life, it's slowly going to lose meaning. People don't kill themselves off the bat like that. No, that is a long process of thinking about it. That is a very long process of doing nothing about it. Do you want to end up there? Well, If we take the example of jumping from a bridge, for example, to end your life, well, you realize that you like full control over your life. So maybe you have some negative thoughts now and then, and I do have them. I've been there. 2 years ago, well, no, sorry, 5 years ago, I had very strong tendencies to do that. Now I have them now and then, and I realize, okay, I like full control over my life. I cannot really change that. I shouldn't even want it to be different. So I therefore think for myself. I realize, well, since I haven't already done it, therefore I've given life meaning, therefore it's meaningful to live. And since I always have something to chase, I will aspire to grow, and I then act through wisdom, and I decide to keep on living. And I, matter of fact, actually do enjoy living for one, at least now. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, what about the denial of meaning? What if there's no meaning? Well, if you take it through this process and genuinely think that life has no meaning, then I ask you one question. If you think life has no meaning, right? You are either scared of dying, therefore giving life meaning. I will read it once more. You are either scared of dying, therefore giving life meaning, or you never lived to begin with. And that is what you need to realize. And this is not coming from a person that has no insight in this. I have a lot of insight in this because I've been there. I've fucking been there. And I realized it. It was both. I was scared of dying, therefore I was already giving life meaning. I just didn't know it. I didn't realize it at the moment. And I never really lived. And my life's turned around, and it's never been better, honestly. It's like I've gotten conscious after fucking 20 years of my life. Now, for the end of the presentation, let's take a look at some quotes on meaning from popular people you might know. So first we have Greek person number 1. The unexamined life is not worth living. Know thyself. There is only one good, knowledge, and one evil, ignorance. So if you look at these, they actually go with the principles we've derived from all those philosophies. It is actually think for yourself, aspire to grow, and think for yourself, and act with wisdom. Then we have another Greek man, or whatever he was. Happiness is the meaning and the purpose of life, the whole aim and end of human existence. It's quite an interesting quote, to be honest. It's taking the hedonistic perspective. So next up, we have German man with hair. It is difficult to find happiness within oneself, but it is impossible to find it anywhere else. This is one of the best quotes I've ever heard. It's so fucking true. It's the subjective interpretation that you realize that two people can look completely different at a situation. Life without pain has no meaning. And then you see that this pain, it makes all sense. If it weren't like that, we go back to the presentation where we said, would it be fun if you knew? Well, a lot of philosophers, they say it wouldn't. You need to have the dark for the light to be so beautiful. It would be cool to just cuddle with your lover for eternity and lay in bed together and make love. But then you realize that it does get boring over time. You need to have those annoying things you have to do for it to be so enjoyable and so magical. Then we have the other German man with a mustache, not the Austrian, not that one. Even though I tried to look if Hitler has some quotes on the meaning of life, and it was too long to put in. To live is to suffer. To survive is to find some meaning in the suffering. What an interesting quote. You can look at it that way. I mean, I don't really agree with it. I know Nietzsche is much more depthful than this. I really like this quote, to be honest, but I thought some people would, so it's up on you. So then we have my favorite author, Robert Greene. Life has more meaning in the face of death. So once again, looking at the part of life saying that you need to have the ugly for the beautiful to be so beautiful. And then if you cultivate your uniqueness, it gives you purpose in life. So even though we're not in this presentation really looking at how to find your purpose, if you take those steps, you will eventually find it. Robert Greene is a lot about finding your purpose and sticking to it. There's an amazing book by him called Mastery. I really recommend it. And honestly, it can change your life. Like any of these people, thinking about stuff, really thinking, and living actively, consciously, and not just passively, can really change your life. Next up, we have Frenchman. The literal meaning of life is whatever you are doing that prevents you from killing yourself. What a quote, what a banger. Give this man an applause. Next up, we have the man that left his child. Life is what happens to you while you're busy making other plans. It's a fucking quote from a song and whatever. And you know what, matter of fact, I even Googled it and he stole it. But then I realized, you know what if those other people stole it as well? What if they stole it from their moms or whatever? So I realized, okay, you know what, let's just put it in. It's just, this one is about just living life and life will happen to you. Nice quote. Next up, we have this Rizzler. The meaning of life is to find your gift. The purpose of life is to give it away. So it's another one about finding your purpose. It's about, once again, going through that 5-step process. Then we have Writer Boy. Life is never fair, and perhaps it is a good thing. For most of us, it is not. That's quite an interesting quote. And I love it says perhaps, because at the end of the day, you never know what was supposed to happen, right? You never know. But perhaps it was supposed to be this way. And perhaps you lack the full control to know. So perhaps you just have to think on the positive side. Because what are you just going to think negatively over your life? Yeah, enjoy that. Okay, fuck off. Nobody's going to want to talk to you. Well, I don't want to talk to people. Okay, really? Sure. Stop fucking lying to yourself, man. Enjoy life. And the last one, and the most beautiful of all, from Mr. The meaning of life is that it is to be lived. How beautiful. Because none of this would be possible if you wouldn't live. So then we can arrive at this conclusion. So we've arrived at how to find meaning, how to approach life. And then you ask me, what is the meaning of life? Well, quite simply, being alive. It is that simple. Well, if someone asks you, the next time someone asks you, what is the meaning of life? You say, you fool, you dummy. You have already answered with your question. The meaning of life is life. There would be no meaning if there wasn't life. So therefore, life equals meaning. It's quite a beautiful quote. And I will end it with this. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope I at least help you a tiny bit. It's kind of my mission. So, to help me with that, drop a sub. And I guarantee I will reward you with videos that will change your life. Enough said, time to act. Enough wisdom, time to act on it. There's this thing you've been putting off. Go fucking do it. There's this girl you want to text. Go fucking do it. It will, you know what? It will probably not work because you don't have experience with fucking women. You suck ass, you know? That other thing you want to do, it will probably not work. You will probably stop doing it because you realize it's actually not that fun you thought it would. But you will never regret it. You will always regret the things you haven't done. So go and do it. Be alive, because that is the meaning of life. See you, man. Love you, and love yourself. Because nobody will do it for you.